Welcome to On the Clock's accountant program. Today I'm going to go over a few different benefits that you now have for being part of our accountants program. So to start, you're now going to have the capability to link your clients underneath your account by using your accountant dashboard. So underneath your settings, you're going to have what we call an accountant dashboard. And in here, you'll notice that you have two options. You can create a client account. So if your client doesn't already have an account and they're interested in having an account with OnTheClock and you would like to utilize us for them, you can enter a client name, their contact information, an email address, and a password, and then just create that account for them and it'll link directly underneath you. Or if your client already has an OnTheClock account, you can request access to that account. You would simply enter in the email address that your client used to sign up their OnTheClock account, and you would click Request Access. All accounts that are linked to you, you'll notice in your accountant dashboard, are all listed. Once your client does receive an email, they will have an area on their screen. So I'm just going to hop over into a different account here. Under Timeclock Settings, your client can come into Advanced Settings, and they will notice this portion that says who can access my account, and they'll go ahead and approve the connection. You'll notice that I'm approved, I'm connected to Sammy Sue's company, which is the parent account of Sammy2. So over here at the top of my screen, and I hit this drop down, I can now see all of my child accounts that I have linked under me, all of my clients. And this is just going to offer me access to their accounts for the ease of running payroll and grabbing their hours when we're ready. The other thing with your accountants' accounts that are linked underneath you, each of these accounts has the capability of adding in their billing information. So if each of your clients are paying for their own account, they are eligible now for a 20% discount for being linked underneath you. If you are going to be the payee on the account and your billing information's on file for your clients, you're going to receive that 20% discount. So now I'm just going to walk you through some basic setup tools for OnTheClock. So once you get your account started, some things that you may be interested in would be administrative setup. So you're going to be able to add in administrators. Administrators on the account are going to be people who have full access to your account. You would simply click Add Administrator, and you'll just enter in a first name, a last name, optionally a phone number here, email address, password, and then you can go ahead and send out those invites by clicking Save. You may also be interested in adding some managers. Now managers are going to have a limited functionality. So I can add manager, and I would just go through the same kind of form. I'll put in their first name, their last name, a mobile phone, email address, a password that they can come in and change later. I have an employee permission level of assigned, so I can actually attach a manager to a specific employee's profile. That just means anyone that they're assigned to is who they're going to be able to view. View employee payroll. If I have this turned on and I enter in pay rates for my employees, they'll be able to view that. If you don't want your managers to see pay rates, you would just leave this off. Time card permission. Full means that they can come in and view time cards and make any type of edits that need to be made. If you wish for your manager to not have the capability to go ahead and change time, you can move this to read only. So now maybe they can just come in, peek at the time cards, and then notify an admin or a different manager that time needs to be changed. And then you would just go ahead and hit save. Now, some useful tools for guidance for your clients. Up here we have this little help support icon. We can click this. Under our help directory, we actually have what we call our guided journey. And in here we just explain how you could start a free trial between the website and the mobile app. We offer a nice little video for your beginning steps. And then right down here, we actually explain how you can add an admin and how you can add a manager. So if you go ahead and click on one of these, you'll notice we explain some information, and we even give you a user permission guide in here. So this just helps navigate what type of user your staff should be set up as. Now let's just hop back into our account here. Now when your client first gets into their account, or even when you first get into your account, you're actually going to see a screen that looks like this. And this is just your employee screen. So to get an employee onboarded with OnTheClock, we just need really basic information. It's going to start with your first name, last name. You can either put an email address here, or optionally you could make a unique user ID. Password, you can click and randomize a password here, and then your employee will have the option to change that later. You can optionally enter in a mobile phone number. If you're going to use a unique user ID, we do recommend putting a mobile phone number on file for password retrieval. And then optionally, you could put in employee numbers. Say you want your employee numbers to match how they are in the payroll system. You can put that exact employee's number over here, and OnTheClock will put that as their number instead of what we show right here. And then up at the top, you'll notice we have via text message and via email for employee invites. If you have an email address on file, we will send their login credentials in an email. If you did put a text message on file, we'll send a text. If you didn't want to send these out yet and you wanted to do that later, you would just turn those off, save your list, and then all your employees will be uploaded into OnTheClock, and they're actually ready to begin clocking in and out. And again, for more guidance and support, you can always click this icon up here. We have our help directory. Again, under this guided journey, if we scroll down, we have a really useful help article on how to add your employees and what your steps are for sending out your invites. A few other basic settings that may be useful. Underneath settings, our gear icon here at the top, we have things like employee groups. This is a really useful setup for starting your account. So once you come in here and say you haven't added your employees yet, you can come to settings and then employee groups. You could create employee group names, for example, have employee full-time and new employee. And it's just gonna allow us to create a bulk add template with our employees settings that we can apply to each employee that we onboard. And then that way we don't have to go through all these settings again. And this is something that you would want to do in the beginning of setup, so that way anyone who gets added under these settings in their employee profile. And then that way you can come into your employee group and make edits here, and it'll just map over across the board to each employee. So in my employee settings, we have a couple main options. I'm just going to go through the very first page that you would have for an employee when you were adding them. So salaried employee, so if you do have a salaried employee, you can turn this on and you could enter in the hours per day that they would work. And you could actually check off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever their work week happens to be. Put in a start date, and then we'll just populate these time cards for them. You would only want to use this option if you wanted to eliminate the need for this particular employee group to not punch in and out. So you're just populating their hours and they don't need to punch in and out. If you want your employee to punch in and out, you're going to go ahead and leave that off. Next, we have job and project costing. This is an area in which you could set up different selections for an employee when punching in and out. So additional options, this is just where your time zone is going to be set up. So if you are in Arizona, for example, and then you don't adjust for daylight savings, you could turn daylight savings time off. Manual time entry and adjustment. This is an option for an employee to actually go ahead and edit their own time cards. If you wanted that on, you could leave it on. By default, we have that off. Allow changing password, you can go ahead and turn that on. Departments, if you are going to have departments and you have them set up, this is where you would go ahead and lock those employees to that department name for filtering purposes. Allow check-in. By default, this is off. This could be good for a salaried employee. By default, we do have allow clock in and clock out on. And then manager, you'll notice there's 5 different sections here. You could actually go ahead and apply a manager. This just assigns that manager to the employee or the employee group. Overtime and breaks. Here is where you could set up your overtime after rule. The system is going to look at this rule and it's just going to automatically apply it. So if I put 40 hours per week, the system is going to scan my time cards and see when I'm reaching over 40 hours per week and then just automatically move that time into the overtime category. Auto deduct is an option, so with auto deduct we can actually select a time frame. So I can say after 5 hours I would like to automatically take 30 minutes. This happens behind the scenes. It's just going to go ahead and deduct 30 minutes after 5 hours of work. And this would eliminate that need for an employee to punch out and back in for lunch. If you want your employee to punch out and back in for lunch, you can go ahead and just leave this off. Underneath that, we have additional features. Do not allow punching in before. This is just an area where if you have a time frame where you would not like employees to be able to punch in before, say that that's 10 minutes prior to the beginning of their shift, you could go ahead and put that an employee is not allowed to punch in before 8:50 a.m. It's just going to apply a security rule, and it's going to warn that employee that they need to wait until it is at least 8:50 before they can actually clock in. Require punch confirm is just an extra option. It's going to have a pop-up that comes up to confirm punching. Typically, I would tell you to leave that off. If you allow for an employee to enter tip, you can turn that on. When they punch out for the day, they'll be able to enter a tip. Bonuses, same thing. If the employee is allowed to enter in the bonus, you would turn this on, and at the end of their shift, they'd be able to enter in a bonus. Same thing with commission. Allow entering mileage. If you turn this on, it's going to have a field where they could enter in the amount of miles that they've gone. And we're just going to go ahead and save settings. And that was in the employee group. I do just want to show you real quick that in my employee list, my employee's main profile looks exactly like the settings that I just set up in my group, minus general settings. So general settings is going to include things like my employee's first and last name, and as well as their employee number. So just some general info about the employee here. And we'll notice that underneath the number is the employee group. This is where I could set my employee in a group. So let me just grab somebody who's not in a group just to show you how that looks. So I've got Johnny up here. You'll notice his employee group's not set. If I wanted to change this, I just simply click here and I can put him into that full-time group. It's going to ask me to confirm, and I can go ahead and confirm. So this just speeds up your setup for all of your employees.